Hey everyone, this is Cassie Green, Content Director of Apparelist and Editor at Printing United Alliance.
And this is Kristine Shreve, founder of the Women in Garment Decoration Facebook group.
And you're listening to Threads of Change, a new kind of discussion for the printing industry.
It's time to talk about how we can inspire change. Our conversations will feature topics such as how we can build a more diverse environment at trade shows, what resources are needed to support underrepresented communities, and more.
We might be tackling some tough topics, but we're hoping you'll join us on this journey to be the change we want to see in the industry.
Come along with us. The next episode starts right now.
Well, hey everybody. Welcome to the next episode of Threads of Change. We are coming to the end of 2025, which is just wild to me. I feel like I blinked and this year just whipped by at record speed. Kristine and I have had just some of the most amazing, most powerful conversations. We've cried, we've laughed, we've been astonished. But I think like at the end of the day, we've shared some really cool stories. And one of the things we are talking about is we've shared all these other amazing stories, but Kristine, we really haven't shared our stories.
We haven't.
Really. And so I think that's really important for us to talk about why this is such a personal journey for us. And so today we're talking about something that I think a lot of women in the audience are going to relate to. And it's gendered ageism. But Kristine, I think that sometimes there's a misconception around that. So maybe we should start with really defining what we mean when we say gendered ageism.
Well, there's ageism in general, which is often interpreted as prejudice against old people.
Right.
But ageism can be prejudice against someone of any age. It can be assuming that a young person can't lead, or a young person can't run a team, or a young person doesn't have the knowledge to do whatever thing you want them to do. It's the kind of crap that happens when people go, well, you're young, this will be a good experience for you, instead of paying you money, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And on the other end of it is ageism against people who, like me, have white hair and, are on the upper side of 50. I'm 56, for those of you who are wondering. And that's when you assume that anyone who has gray hair or was born, and saw the Beatles live or something like that is too old to be current, is too old to learn anything new, probably can't manage any technology, is stymied by their cell phone, all that kind of stuff. Now, gendered ageism, which is a term that is used for basically ageism when it's used against women. And the reason it's called gendered is because this kind of ageism basically centers a lot more on appearance. It centers a lot more on, weirdly enough, fertility.
Oof, yeah.
I know, which is just
we're going to unpack that later. We're going to unpack
stay
that.
out of my body, please. Or off it or whatever.
Right.
Just yuck. But anyway, so it tends to center around appearance. It tends to center around fertility. It tends to center around women just never get to the sweet spot where they're just old enough, they're just pretty enough, they're just fertile enough, they're just enough,
right,
to be promotable, to be whatever, to be in leadership roles, to be whatever it is. And I want to say two things before we get into this too far. First one, we are not claiming by any stretch of the imagination that men do not face ageism.
Exactly.
They do as well. And this is not, and it also is not, second thing, in any way intended to be a show saying men are horrible, awful, evil people, and they all judge women by whether they want to have sex with them or they think they're pretty. That's not what we're saying. We're saying this is a cultural, systemic thing that we need to talk about, because if we don't talk about it, we can't fix it.
Right. Well,
So,
and let's be real, also, you and I are both women. So, of course, we're going to
yes,
talk about our personal experience, which
yes.
happens to be from a female perspective. But anyone who's listened to our show knows that we've had some men on this show
Mhm.
who have talked about being judged for certain things
Yes,
or like labeled because they're
yeah,
male, right? So, yes, I think,
yes.
thank you for clarifying that.
But I think it's important to say because it's a very easy kind of faux argument to just say,
Mhm.
well, you're just bashing men. I'm like, no, I love men. Some of my favorite people are men.
Mhm.
I'm just saying that as a culture, we have this tendency to give men a pass when they age and not necessarily women.
Right.
So I just want to make that really clear. And the
Yes.
reason that a lot of the reason that this conversation came about, I have to say, is because, as I said, I'm 56. I have gray hair by
Mhm.
choice. I went gray really early and I just never dyed it. Um, I don't think I look particularly 56, but then I don't know what 56 looks like. So, I mean, I don't have an answer for that. If you go
Right.
look at my LinkedIn profile or something and decide what you think. But I have been encountering increasingly, my profession is marketing. I
Mhm.
tend to work in social media. I tend to work in that kind of stuff. I'm encountering more and more this theory that I won't be good at it anymore.
Yeah.
Marketing and social media are young people's games, especially social media. And I'm like, but I have a track record of 20 years of doing
Yeah.
this successfully and well. So why would I reach the age I am now and suddenly go, well, I don't care about that anymore, or not be able to
Right.
understand it anymore?
Yes. Well, I think that's
So,
interesting because if anything, we know that experience makes us better at a lot of things, and you still bring that same passion and fire.
yeah.
Has nothing to do with your age, which is crazy.
Well, and it's a weird theory that you hit a certain arbitrary chronological time and then suddenly whatever. And I mean, it doesn't, I'm assuming if I were, well, maybe not, I don't know, I'm assuming if I were a baker or a postal worker or a teacher or something, maybe I wouldn't encounter the same thing. Maybe social media is new enough that people are
Yeah.
more ageist about it. I don't know. That's a
Hmm.
question I can't answer, but it's just really a weird thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I have to say I have not talked to any older male marketers to
Sure.
see if they're running into the same thing,
Hmm. Hmm.
but that's something that I've run into. But I just want to go to this one topic that I really think is very interesting. And I've been thinking about this a lot since we started saying that we were going to talk about this particular topic.
Yeah.
And that's the fact that even today in 2025, women are still mostly defined by how they look and whether they can pop out a baby.
Yeah.
I mean, that's blunt,
Right.
but
Right. I
that's
know.
really what it is.
Right. I know.
And, it's like the minute you get to the point where you physically look like, okay, your baby popping days are over, then there's like this devaluing of your worth, of your
True.
status, of whatever it is.
Hmm.
It's like
Hmm.
women have, you're the person you date, you're the person you marry, you're somebody's mother, you're somebody's grandma, you're dead.
Right. Right. You're always defined as somebody else's
Yeah,
something else.
and you're always defined by sex or fertility,
Yeah.
basically. And
Right.
it's like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Okay, I did not have kids, so I cannot extol the wonderfulness of motherhood. I know you have children. I'm
Yeah.
assuming you like them.
Oh,
So,
yeah, right. They're okay.
okay, you might
They're
keep
okay.
them. So, but I mean, any woman, childless, not childless, whatever sexual orientation you are, you're a lot more than your sex life and your reproductive life.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I mean, to kind of offer my thoughts on that, like it's very interesting because yes, as you mentioned, I do have kids. We made the choice to only have 2 kids. That's where things sort of landed for a variety of reasons. But it's an interesting perspective because, thank God I had a great experience with my employer at the time when I was, pregnant and having children. They were incredibly open to the fact that I was going to have to be on maternity leave and the fact that, I was probably going to adjust my working schedule when I came back to work and things like that. However, it is interesting how women who are pregnant or in their fertile years, and I use that loosely because you're right. Like a lot of times you are judged based on your appearance as whether you're fertile, quote unquote, or not. It's interesting how people treat you and react when you tell them in a professional setting, "Yep, I'm expecting a baby," and they'll be like, "Well, what are you going to do about your job? How are you going to accommodate?" And there's this really interesting immediate like, "Are you going to quit? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do all these things?" And it's interesting that they leap right to that. And I can't speak from the perspective of a man because I've never been a father, obviously. But I have to wonder when our men asked those same questions. Like, are they like, "Oh, you're having a baby. Are you going to be a stay-at-home dad now?" Because a lot of men are now. And so it's interesting that stereotype.
I'm guessing men are probably not asked at all how having a baby is going to impact or change their lives, even though they should be, because they're half of making the baby and they're half of the baby's parents. But my guess would be that they're not.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I think is weird about this is that regardless of what you do, you're going to get judgment. So you had kids and you got questions and judgment. I chose not to have children and I got questions and judgment. And I'm like, and honestly, who's flippant other than making sure your job is covered? So in that, if you're away on maternity leave or you're adjusting for whatever, making sure whatever arrangements need to be made are made, whose business is it? And really the same, if I decide I'm not having kids, whose business is it why I decided to do that or not do that? Right. Or, am I sad about it? Or do I regret it or whatever? If I want to talk about that, I will, but it's not, it's not polite lunch conversation. I mean, it's not like, and I don't know this, and I also kind of resent the assumption that, I must be. I must regret it. I must be sad. I must be. And I'm like, honestly, no. I never wanted kids from a really, really young age. Yeah. I never did. And I never got to the point where, and I always said, for me, if I couldn't 100% say that I absolutely wanted to do it, then I shouldn't do it, because nothing would be worse than having a child and realizing, I didn't want this responsibility. Yeah. I don't want this. And I mean, and people always say, well, if it had happened, you would have loved the kid. And I'm like, yeah, I would have, and I would have done my best by them.
Great.
But, it's, my choice was no.
Right. And what's another interesting kind of age association with this whole topic is when you do come across, when there are women who have the appearance of getting older and they don't have kids yet. I've always found the comment very interesting. They're like, tick-tock, biological clock is ticking. And it's very interesting that people would make that assumption based on a woman's age. Because, yes, we can't argue with biology, right? That's just is what it is. However, I don't know that it needs to be said out loud to women. We're already wildly aware we're aging. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And generally women,
make sure we get it.
Thank you. pretty sure I'm aging. Trust me, I wake up every day and count my gray hairs. Like that you don't need to point it out to me. But you also don't need to point out that there are biological rules for having kids or not having kids. Like each woman makes that decision herself. And just because she's getting older doesn't mean it needs to be commented on.
Well, and it's another difference between how we treat men and nobody was walking up to George Clooney and going, "TikTok, George."
Right?
Or any of or Steve Martin, who had his kid when he was like 67 or something like that.
Right.
And nobody was like, which, okay, granted, there's biology in that too, in that they can make babies, 5 minutes before they die. I think, if we look at older male celebrities like Steve Martin or, George Clooney, who had his kids later in life, I don't think there are people following them around going, "Hey, TikTok buddy."
Yeah, probably not.
Those sperm are going to get a little tired at some point. Come on, dude. I don't think it happens in the same way.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they get the same, if a man decides he doesn't choose to have children for whatever the reason, I don't think they get the same level of judgment either. And and I don't know. I understand that for like most of recorded history, one of the primary purposes of women was considered to be having a baby. That was, for a long time, that was how you proved your worth or your value. If you couldn't pop out a baby, then look at all the queens who were, shunned and tormented for not being able to have an heir. Even though we know now from science that it was equally as likely to be the king who couldn't get the job done. But there's all this weird kind of gendered stuff that happens. And it's really, it's frustrating.
Want to level up your skills or empower your workforce? Meet iLearning Plus, the online education platform powered by our parent organization, Printing United Alliance. With on-demand courses and certifications, iLearning Plus helps print professionals stay ahead of industry trends, sharpen their expertise, and grow their careers. Whether you're elevating your skills or training your team, we've got the resources to keep you competitive. Printing United Alliance members save 20% on all courses and certifications. So get started today at ilearningplus.org and build a stronger future in print.
It is. Totally. I've been holding this in the back of my mind while we've been talking. You said something earlier that really is like having a profound impact for me. You used the word arbitrary. And I really like that because I think that's a lot of where like the ageism issue stems from. And while there is some significance attached with age, there's also not for a lot of things, right? And so it's interesting because when you boil it down and look at it, like turning 32 is arbitrary. Truly. Like, does it have any impact on your ability, a woman's ability to perform or not perform at her job or whatever? Like that number in and of itself has no bearing whatsoever on a woman's ability or capability or whatever. There are so many other factors that make us who we are and make us beautiful that it's just like so interesting that we assign such an importance to such an arbitrary number.
Well, I think this is interesting too, because this is something that I've been talking a lot about with a friend of mine he's like 4 years older than me. So he's in his early 60s now, or 5 or 6 or however many, but he's, and I said to him, I'm like, I know my chronological age is 56. Right. But I've never been 56, and I don't have a feeling of what 56 is supposed to be. I mean, I remember when I was a kid knowing my grandmother when she was probably in her late 50s, early 60s, and thinking, oh my God, she's really old. But
Yeah.
I mean, by the same token, my grandmother lived to be 98. Thank you very much. And
What a great
she
life.
was one of the most vital, smart, funny, feisty, curious people I ever knew. I
Right.
mean, she was the woman who was like, let's learn about it, let's figure it out. She was a teacher for like, I don't even know how many, a bazillion years probably. And I
Yeah.
think she taught her first school was a one-room schoolhouse in 50 years maybe, because she
Goodness.
retired in 72. And I think her first schoolhouse was in the late teens or early 20s. So
Okay.
anyway.
And I mean, obviously, we don't have to state that like 90 is different than 20. Okay? Yes.
Of course.
Obviously, there are some biological differences there, but I
Yes.
think your story proves the point of like she was able to teach even as she aged
Yeah.
just as well, or if not better, than she was able to teach as a young, I mean,
Well,
there are so many other factors. And even as a
and
young woman, she was probably an amazing teacher. She just brings something different to the table
yeah.
as she goes through life.
Well, and I have to say, and this is one of the things that I think is really, really interesting about my perspective about aging. My grandmother lived to be 98. I had great aunts who lived to be 96 and 95. I had a great grandmother who lived to be 98.
Oh my
I
gosh.
had another great grandmother who lived to be 88, or another grandmother who lived to be 88.
Mhm.
So the women in my family, you got to hit us over the head with a mallet to make us go away. We're around forever. And all of these women, except for my grandmother in the very, very, my maternal grandmother in the very, very end of her life, stayed vibrant and sharp
Yeah.
and funny and interesting and interested up until the
Yes.
end.
Yes.
So it's like
Right.
to assume that there's this arbitrary point where you suddenly lose whatever it was that made you interesting or interested in what's happening
Right.
around. I mean, it's I don't know. It's one of the things that really bugs me. I see this a lot on social media sometimes, like a assisted living facility or a nursing home will put up a picture and it's like our residents enjoying, and they're like batting balloons around, or they're doing some little kid, and I'm just like, these are grown-up adults, people. And I don't know, maybe it is fun, but I'm just like,
Great.
I don't assume that somebody who's in their 70s or their 80s or their 90s is not interested in having a cocktail and a conversation. Come on.
I know.
It's just,
agreed.
I don't know. And it makes me even, I don't know what the word is even that I want. It frustrates me more when it comes to women, I think, because there's so much about women that gets ignored in favor of what you look like and
Right.
if you're fertile or not, basically.
Right. Yeah. And how
nobody's asking the question, are you interesting? Nobody's asking the question, can you play an instrument? Are you a scientist? Do you have a really cool take on the latest movie that or can you lead people? Are you a really good leader? Can you form a consensus? Can you bring people together? There is nothing about having ovaries that makes you less capable. I'm sorry.
I'm just going to go out there and say it kind of makes us more capable. I mean, we can grow a baby, we can and work a job at the same time.
Yeah.
And we can also deal with all of the things that come with being a woman. Like,
yes.
come on. No.
And
not
to
knock the gentlemen.
While they're having cramps every
Right.
month. Because
Right. Well, things are falling apart, literally.
Or PMS or whatever it is. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just this. And I mean, I feel like we see men in general as more well-rounded people.
Sure.
And we tend to see women as more unidimensional. Like their function is to be attractive or
Oh,
it's to
yeah.
be maternal.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's interesting.
this is
Yeah.
literally true. I actually had a guy hit on me in a bar one time by calling me grandma.
Oh.
And I was like,
Oh.
and I mean, okay, he
Okay.
was drunk and he was, but everybody that was with me thought it was really funny. And I was like,
Honey,
no.
I
I mean, and then I told him I didn't have any kids, and he says, "What, should I call you mommy?" And I was like, no.
and I'm speechless at that. That is that's new. How's
I mean,
that?
like I
That's
said, he was
what would
very
you, yeah.
drunk and
Oh my God.
probably not thinking with any brain cells at all. But I was just like, seriously? This is your
Yeah.
pickup line? Hi, grandma?
Right. Like
You
try
know?
no, just no. No. Don't even try again, just no.
Well, and I mean, there's so many parts of that are, first of all, assuming that, okay, woman with gray hair, she automatically must be a
Right.
grandma.
Right.
You know, I would not walk up to a man with gray hair and go, "Hey, grandpa." I mean, I wouldn't do
Grandpa,
that
how
in
you doing?
general, but you know, I'm like,
Right.
I don't know. It's just,
Yeah. Well, and so really fast, I know like we try and keep these episodes on time, but really fast, something I want to like talk about on the flip side of that
Mhm.
is like when a woman is considered very young to
Mm.
be in her role or something like that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because yes, like obviously there's a lot of gendered ageism attached with women as they age, but there's also a lot of it attached
Yeah.
with women when they're young, just entering the
Yes.
workforce. And I can say for experience, like when I walked my very first industry trade show, and it was not an apparel decorating trade show or anything like that, like I just want to qualify that, and
Right.
because there's obviously a lot of really amazing shows and really amazing people, and I love this community. But my very first trade show that I ever walked out of college, I had people catcall me. Like I had a one man in particular catcall me. And the only reason he wanted me to come over to his booth is so he could tell me how good I looked in a skirt. It did not matter that I was a very good journalist. It did not matter that I might want to do an interview or that I might have a good connection or that I might have something interesting to say. He was only interested in how young I looked. And there was like this immediate like judgment made on me, like, oh, well, she's so young. She probably doesn't bring, like I felt like he was saying she doesn't bring anything to the table other than her looks.
Yeah.
Which
Other
was
than your
very,
sexuality and your looks.
yes,
Yeah.
it was very off-putting.
Oh,
And I will say
wouldn't.
like that.
I'm kind of shocked you didn't meet the guy in the, because I don't
You
know.
know, I
But
kept walking.
I think that's very true. And I've seen that with, I work with a very young woman in my office. She's smart as a whip. She's very, very talented, but she looks very young. She's tiny.
Right.
And, she's just,
Right.
she looks young. And she's demonstrated, and I think this is the part that really annoys me. She's demonstrated she's competent. She's demonstrated she can do the work. She can make the judgments. She can stand up for herself. She can do everything she needs to do. And she's still getting treated like, aren't you adorable? I should put you in a pinafore and give you a lollipop. And I'm like, what? And I guess the question that comes out of all of this is, what do we have to do?
I know.
mean, it's like there never seems to be a place where, you're either young and basically valued for your looks, or if you don't have looks, you're not really valued at all. You get older and then it's all about, are you going to pop out a baby? And when is that going to happen? And what are you going to do when that happens?
Right.
And then you're somebody's mother and it's, potlucks and PTA, or you're not somebody's mother and it's, why aren't you somebody's mother? And then you get older and it's like, well, you're not fertile anymore and we don't want to sleep with you, so we don't care.
Right. I hate using the word always. It is really often there are judgments made that are tied to our arbitrary age. It's very, and again, I know I said always earlier. I hate using the word always because there are a lot of people, like, I do firmly believe we have made a lot of progress in this area. I do, obviously, right?
I think people are much more aware of it. I think
so. The word always is not correct, right? But there is still so much attached to it. It's wild.
It is.
Yeah. Anyway, Kristine, you and I have talked about this. We could go on and on and on about this forever and always.
We made a vow that we were going to be good and not.
Right. So I do want to implore our listeners, though, if you have something to say about this topic or any of the topics we ever do on Threads of Change, please reach out to Kristine and I. We really want to talk to the industry. We want to lift this industry up. It's all about open conversation. So yeah, please come find us.
That's the whole point. Yes. That has been the whole point of all these discussions is we want to inspire a larger discussion. We know what we think. What do you think?
Right. What do all of you out there think? Or maybe you want to be a guest and you want to share your story. Like,
please do it. We love that. We had so many cool guests this year and there are so many more out there.
I know. So anyway, Kristine, thanks for yet another really great episode. This was one we got fired up. I love it. I love it. Well, everybody, looking forward to next month and our final topic for 2025. We'll talk to you all then.
Yes.
Hey everyone, this is Cassie Green, Content Director of Apparelist and Editor at Printing United Alliance.
And this is Kristine Shreve, founder of the Women in Garment Decoration Facebook group.
And you're listening to Threads of Change, a new kind of discussion for the printing industry.
It's time to talk about how we can inspire change. Our conversations will feature topics such as how we can build a more diverse environment at trade shows, what resources are needed to support underrepresented communities, and more.
We might be tackling some tough topics, but we're hoping you'll join us on this journey to be the change we want to see in the industry.
Come along with us. The next episode starts right now.